If you're looking for a simple, cheap way of getting online, you might be wondering whether you can use your phone's hotspot. It is generally very easy to set up your phone's hotspot and get online with it, but there are some downsides to doing this and situations where it won't work. In this video, we've explained how to tell whether using your phone's hotspot is a good way to get online at home. So for general internet use, like browsing the web and reading emails, using your phone's hotspot is generally fine. It'll just be like browsing the web on your phone, but on your computer instead, if that's the device you get on the hotspot from. But the first step is to make sure you have good 4G or 5G signal in your house. So on Wi-Fi, on the connection I'm currently on, I get pretty good speeds, as you can see here. It's a 900 megabit per second connection, but 800 or so is pretty common. But now I'll turn Wi-Fi off, and let's see what the speeds are like. So where I am at the moment, there's basically no 4G or 5G signal, so using my hotspot here just wouldn't work at all. So your first step should always be to do a speed test, but even if your results are really bad, like mine, they might be better on other networks. If you really want to use a hotspot to get online, it's worth seeing if other networks offer better performance. To do this, come to their coverage map. We've linked to the coverage maps of each of the major 4 providers in the description, so just go to the links in the description to try the networks you're not on. If your current network has really bad signal at your home address, and look for good indoor 4G coverage at least, where you live. We can see here, at this postcode, on the 3 network, hotspotting would probably be fine, but you'd only be able to get 4G speeds, since you can only get 5G if you step outdoors. So in this case, with a 3 SIM, browsing the web and normal sort of internet stuff would be really smooth. But what about more intensive online activities like video streaming? In general, your hotspot will perform okay for this as well, but it depends exactly what speeds you get. If you have really good 4G coverage like this, you should get speeds of at least 30 megabits per second, and that's plenty for video streaming, at least if you're just doing it on one device at a time. Here, you can see the speed requirements that Netflix has. For 1080p, you only need 5 megabits, and most of the time, your 4G connection will easily provide these speeds. Even for 4K Ultra HD video, 4G should be more than capable. The only risk here is if your 4G is prone to dropping out. In an area like this, with really comprehensive coverage, it should be fine. And if you have 5G, you should be fine, even if it is a little bit choppy. Because if you're on 100 megabit with 5G, even if it does drop out sometimes, when you do have a connection, it'll be able to buffer quite a lot of this, helping to sort of paper over the cracks when the connection drops out a bit. So there's a bit of a balance. As long as you have enough speed, enough of the time, you'll be fine to do video streaming on your hotspot. Having 5G helps, but it's not necessary if you have a consistent 4G connection. If you're not sure, we recommend coming to the 3 website and looking at their coverage checker. They generally have the best prices on data SIMs if you need to buy a new one. So if they have better 4G or 5G coverage than your current network, it might be worth looking at their data-only plans if you plan to get online using your hotspot. Gaming with a hotspot is where you can run into difficulties, but it depends on the types of games you play. These are some typical speed tests we took using the 3 MiFi device. It's basically a small little router that uses 3 4G to get online, so its speeds will be sort of similar to using a hotspot on the 3 network. Just, it allows you to create a Wi-Fi hotspot without using your phone, which can be quite helpful. We've linked to this full review in the description if you think a MiFi device might be something that's helpful. Anyway, you'll typically get a latency over 4G of about 30 to 40 milliseconds if you run a speed test. It can be a bit higher than this if the master's a long way away, but this latency can be a bit inconsistent. So we wouldn't recommend using your hotspot for competitive games, especially really ping sensitive stuff like Rocket League or Counter-Strike, but for other types of online games, it can still perform. Stuff like Animal Crossing or even FIFA should be fine as long as you have a consistent 4G connection at your house. Just, there's no guarantees here because latency can be a bit inconsistent when using 4G or 5G. So using your hotspot to get online, you can get a pretty good experience, especially if you just want to do some video streaming and web browsing, and maybe using apps and stuff like that. So what are the downsides? The first is, you might hit your monthly data limit quite quickly, especially if you're doing a lot of downloads or video streaming, because these are quite data intensive. So it might be worth upgrading your SIM if you want to use your phone to get online at home. We've linked to 3 SIM-only deals in the description because they tend to offer the best value for money of any of the major 4 networks, and they also offer pretty good speeds in 5G areas. They also allow you to build a SIM plan that works for you by choosing your contract length and data limit. The second downside is, doing this can wear out your phone's battery. By having your hotspot on all the time, you'll be putting a lot more hours of use through your phone, especially the battery. This can affect your battery health and reduce the amount of time that a single charge lasts for. That's why a lot of people use these MiFi devices when looking for a simple way to get online with 4G. They have a battery, but you can keep them plugged in all the time if you don't do much traveling with them, and they're designed specifically to create a Wi-Fi hotspot for other devices to connect to. To learn more about MiFi, read our review of 3's Wi-Fi device, which we've linked to in the description. The other downside to using a hotspot is your Wi-Fi performance won't be amazing. This isn't always a problem, especially if you just want to get online with 1 or 2 devices, but if you have a lot of people connecting to the network, or you need people to connect over long distances, you might begin to run into issues when using a hotspot. That's where 4G and 5G routers, like the 3 5G hub, come into play. This is sort of a mix between the 3 MiFi device and a typical Wi-Fi router that you might use with a fiber broadband connection. It's just like any router, except it takes a SIM card, rather than connecting to your phone line or fiber broadband port. Then, it creates a Wi-Fi 6 Wi-Fi network, allowing you to get online with up to 64 devices at once, similar to if you're connecting to any fiber broadband router's hotspot. 3 sells it with an included SIM card, which comes with unlimited data. To set it up, all you do is punch out the SIM card and put it in the router, then plug it in, and it'll create a Wi-Fi hotspot you can use to get online. The downside is, at the moment, you have to commit for 24 months to use this router, but if you're not in a 5G area, there is also a 4G hub you can get on the 3 website. Click the link to 3 Home Broadband in the description to see if you can get their 4G or 5G broadband service at your address, and to see what prices are like at the moment. So should you use your phone's hotspot to get online? If you have good 4G or 5G speeds on your phone, and you're just doing it temporarily, using your hotspot can be a great way to get online. As long as it's only 1 or 2 devices, you need to connect to the internet at once. But if you're looking for a more permanent solution to use for 3 months or more, it might be worth getting a MiFi device or a 4G or 5G router, just to get better speeds and signal, and to avoid putting too much wear through your phone's battery. That's why, if you're looking for a more permanent solution, we recommend looking at the 3 5G hub. It offers speeds of more than 500 megabits per second from our testing, even if you don't have fiber broadband in your area. And it's also very portable and easy to set up, like using a hotspot. And if you want something on a pay-as-you-go basis, 3's MiFi device is like having an upgraded hotspot, designed specifically for that purpose, meaning you can just set it up and don't have to worry about constantly switching on and off the hotspot on your phone. Remember to click the link in the description to go to our website if you want to learn more about the 3 MiFi device, or click the link in the description to go to the 3 website if you want to see if their 4G hub or 5G hub is available at your address. And if you have any questions about using your phone's hotspot to get online, leave a comment below and we'll respond as soon as we can.